These are the top 15 worst things you can do in Apex Legends. Let's go. Number 1, avoiding cover. You want to naturally gravitate towards cover, not away from it. Now, I know, some of you will have this down, but others of you are still working on this and you're trying to get it to be more second nature. I know this because, well, I see it all the time. And while it's always going to be something you're working on, the point here is most players lack this crucial awareness around their surroundings and inevitably just wind up strafing away from the cover or flat out avoiding it. This could be because it just slips their mind as soon as they see an enemy or because they just don't prioritize it. But if this is you, try to play 3 games in a row where all you think about is the different kinds of cover near you at all times. This doesn't mean you have to stay behind cover and not push out if you crack an enemy, but you have to be aware of it at all times for 3 games. Try it out, let me know how it goes. Number 2, don't spend too long looting. While looting is actually a skill in Apex, it's important that you try to balance out the time you'll need to loot versus the time you want to loot. If you're always drawn to wherever loot is, you're probably missing out on some fun in Apex. Try to be mindful of where you've already looted, whether it's the POI you're currently in, or whether it's the same death box that you keep going back into, hoping something new magically appeared. Now, obviously, we need loot to survive in Apex, so there's definitely going to be a time and a place to do so. But the sooner you become more efficient with your looting, the better of a player and teammate you're going to be. And this all centers around shrinking the time you're spending doing so to get the necessary things you need. Number 3, never land on your teammates and loot their exact same path. You know the type of teammate who tries to loot the supply bin once you've already opened it? Yeah, don't be that person. I think it'd be funny if Apex added voice lines for the legends to bicker with one another when someone is stealing your loot and moving in the exact same path as you. But anyways, a simple way to solve this is if you are not the jump master, then it's your duty to break off from whoever is and land in a different portion of the POI so that you guys can each loot your own areas while still being close and be able to meet up shortly after you finish. This will help out fighting off drop tremendously, but also will speed up the time it takes you and your squad to loot. Too many times, players will just land directly onto me wherever I dropped, loot the same exact area as me, and there's nothing that'll piss off a teammate more than this. Number 4, start to holster your weapon more. See, when moving throughout the map or even small little windows within an engagement, holstering your weapon will speed up your velocity, and this can make you either A, harder target to hit, or B, will help get you to the next best position quicker. A lot of players think they need to have their weapon out because they're like, oh, well, what if I run into an enemy and I don't have my gun out? And sure, that's a real fear to have, but the better way to look at this is if you're just more aware of your surroundings, most of the time you'll just know when your gun needs to be out because the threat is near. Not to mention, you pull your weapon out pretty darn fast, so even if you do come across someone, it's only about a second before your gun is going to get out. Point being, you want to holster more when you're not in active engagements. Number 5, don't give up high ground for free. Whether you and your teammates drop off one by one into your inevitable deaths, or you get antsy and give up crucial positioning for no good reason. You want to live and die by high ground whenever possible in an FPS game like Apex. High ground will give you more space and time away from enemies so that if you get low, you have plenty of space to heal. It will also generally give you favorable angles on any nearby enemies who aren't on height, and this will make your positioning your leverage in that fight. So just like after watching this video, you're going to be naturally gravitating towards cover, I suggest you naturally gravitate towards high ground as well. Number 6, and I can't actually believe I have to say this still in season 16, but stop solo launching in ranked. I don't know why, but I still witness this to this day in ranked when I solo queue. One of my random teammates decides that it's a great idea to solo launch into a hut drop, and yes, they quickly die after. I know most of you guys probably aren't doing this, but I still gotta talk about it briefly. This is obviously a terrible thing to do, especially in a team-oriented game mode like ranked, and there's a point system. It's really unforgiving to have a bad drop and to lose a good amount of RP. So yeah, can we just finally stop doing this? Number 7, spam pinging. Most of us here hate when teammates do this, but a lot of teammates particularly have started spam pinging their banner once they've been fully killed. See, on one hand, I'm kind of proud of the Apex community here, because it seems some people have outgrown the whole spam pinging an enemy when they finally see one, or maybe they just don't actually see one and they're just trying to get attention. But then I realized those same players have just gravitated towards spam pinging their banner when they die. Look, if your teammate can't get the banner, just let it go. They might be a support legend who can now craft the expired banner too. And also, if you're on the receiving end of a random teammate spam pinging, you can mute pings in Apex by clicking this button here. A lot of players I've come across didn't know this was a feature, but it's certainly helpful when teammates are doing this. Number 8, leaving open mic on with a ton of background noise. This is a sure way to distract your teammates and have them inevitably just mute you. If you are on open mic, just be mindful of the sound coming through when you aren't speaking. Number 9, hot dropping, dying, and then instantly leaving. This one's pretty self-explanatory, but yeah, this is basically the epitome of the worst kind of teammate to have in Apex. There's a thing called no-filling where you can just play a match without any teammates. If this is what you want to do, I'd recommend no-filling. Number 10, don't hoard all of the shields, especially shield batteries. Shield batteries are the most valuable heal in the whole game, and they play a huge role in how a fight shakes out. Some people don't understand that if your teammates don't have any batteries, it's practically the same type of liability if you don't have any yourself. See, if your teammates don't have the capacity to provide presence and deal damage because they're stuck slow healing on purple or red armor, then all of that adds up to time that is factored against you and favoring the enemy's side. However, if a teammate is able to quickly return into a fight by just popping a shield battery, then it will certainly help your team's chances of winning. So a good rule of thumb is if it's early game and I have more than 2 batteries, I have to check if my teammates need any. Later on in the game, if I have anywhere from 2 to 4, then any other bats I will ping for them. Now, if they don't need them, I'll obviously carry as much as I can, but you have to make sure your teammates are taken care of too in this regard. Number 11, make sure you're using all types of pings. Of course, using your mic to communicate provides way more info than just pinging it. But if you don't have a mic or if you don't like to speak with your randoms, learn to use all of the pings that Apex has to offer. And some of you are probably thinking, well, this is an obvious one. I'm going here or there's an enemy over there. But rarely do I see players use all of the pings, such as I'm attacking here or I'm going to defend here. Even when I use them, sometimes teammates seem to not be familiar with them, so they aren't as responsive to these types of pings as they are compared to the general enemy here or let's go here ping. See, learning to utilize all of these pings can really help the team out if they are followed as a team, but this is especially true while you're solo queuing. So it's important you not only learn to use them, but you learn to listen for them as well too. Number 12, don't forget to armor swap whenever possible, especially for you players who use mouse and keyboard. Armor swapping is the fastest way to reset and be ready for whatever's next. It'll seriously mitigate any time it takes to heal, so whenever possible, it's generally the best course of action. But also, you can tell your teammates if a certain death box has already been swapped, in case they weren't paying attention or missed that you swapped it. This could potentially save their lives if they get up from being knocked and they run over to the nearest box looking for an armor swap, only to find out it's already been swapped and the new team comes in and shoots the teammate who's 1 HP. Vocalizing this or just making it known can be crucial information for your teammates. Number 13, stop landing on enemies and just trying to punch them out. This is not going to work out in the majority of situations. Good players know where loot spawns and where it does not. They will probably find a weapon and gun you down while you look like a fool trying to punch them out. Now, I'm not saying punching an enemy is completely useless. If you land and it's a scuffle for a weapon and you think hitting them could be crucial because maybe it bumps them out of the way, then yeah, absolutely do so. But never just land on people with the sole reason of just trying to punch them out, because as I said, good players will know to take advantage of you if you try this. Number 14, forgetting to reload is a much more common problem for newer players. They generally quickly forget what they just did, but this mistake will wind up getting you killed a lot in Apex. And there's really 2 ways this will hurt you. One is emptying your whole magazine in your primary weapon, only to quickly swap to your secondary, and when you need to pull your primary back out, you forgot it was never reloaded. The other way this can hurt you is if you reload and then quickly holster the weapon before it completes the full animation. You'll be thinking, oh yeah, my primary was reloaded, only to find out when you pull the weapon back out, you're getting gunned down by your enemy because you're still trying to put a mag back in the flatline. Just be very conscious of what you're doing, what you've already done, and what you need to do. And once you do this, forgetting to reload will just not be a problem. Number 15. This is probably the worst thing you can do in Apex Legends, and that is talk crap to your teammates only once you've been knocked. This especially happens when players are just, frankly, not that great at the game. They think they're really good, they're actually not. I got news for you. The best way to positively affect your outcomes, especially with random teammates, is to communicate during fights. Not after, and not once you got knocked. Only to dog on your remaining squad mates because you went down. Sure, sometimes your random teammates won't make the smartest play, but that's life. You gotta just suck it up and go next while understanding they owe you nothing and they're probably doing their best. There's so many warriors out there who don't say a word the entire game, except for when they get knocked and they just trash on their teammates. Don't be this type of player. If you enjoyed this video and you're interested in my top picks on who to main in Season 16, well, I covered it all in this video here. Check it out next. Thanks for watching. Peace.